Hello and welcome to Network. My name is Spumelele Zondo with your technology and social media news. We hope you are staying indoors and keeping safe. If you want to be a part of our network, it's SABC Network on Facebook, Twitter and Instagram. Use network at sabc.co.za on email. This week, our Twitter poll is asking you what you think about video-on-demand services like Netflix getting in competition with TV services. This as Netflix has announced that Jiva will be their second South African original series. Results of that are coming up later in the program. But first, here's what's coming up tonight. We go to the rural areas and then back to the city to find out how high school students are doing with their remote learning in the two areas. We check in with your chefs to find out how they are delivering food to you. And in our discussion, we chat about newspapers and magazines that are struggling with some actually folding as people continue to consume content but now consuming a video and online. Computicket is known for selling tickets for some of the biggest events in South Africa. They've gone digital now and they are selling tickets with proceeds that will be going to charity.
As the nation adjusts to the new reality of life under self-quarantine in the midst of the coronavirus pandemic, a number of entertainers are taking the show online to share some musical joy during these trying times.
I just want to take it to the top. I just want to take it.
Ticket Pro has launched COVID Zero, a platform for artists to stream their performances online.
We built a platform which allows online streaming. It allows customers to buy tickets to these events, and it gets people safe and happy in the comfort of their own homes. They get to watch the content that they've chosen to purchase a ticket to. And while they're watching this, they've indirectly enabled us to go and help our fellow South Africans by donating to this cause through their purchasing of their tickets.
Musicians across the country are now managing to make a living from their art thanks to the internet and the widespread adoption of mobile phones.
It made sense to join up the Lockdown Legends portfolio with the COVID Zero platform so that we could raise awareness, raise funding for the musicians, entertainers out there, as well as creating funding for much needed clothing and masks, etc., for the community out there.
This platform is all about artists being able to directly communicate with their audience, which we really like the concept of. And at the same time, there's this kind of a goodwill aspect because there are a lot of people that are still out of work, sort of behind the scenes in all entertainment industries. So this COVID Zero initiative is just about supporting those people, bit of donations, food packages, etc. Just trying to do a little bit for the people that aren't as lucky as we are.
All ticket sales will be donated to support communities and artists during the lockdown.
Really are only two beneficiaries out of this COVID Zero campaign. One is the artists. They will get a cut of the ticket sales to help them carry on doing what they are doing until we are out of this lockdown and events can go back to normal. And the other part of the proceeds go to the Trust Blue Foundation, where they are doing unbelievable work and helping fellow South Africans.
Fans say they will continue watching live-streamed events after large gathering bans are lifted. COVID Zero launched this past Friday with Rian and friends.
On level 4 lockdown, you can order food in. You can't go to the restaurant. So we decided to check in with some chefs to find out how they are getting the food that they make to your home so you can enjoy a restaurant meal from home. It begins with you ordering food online. In Cape Town, we start at 7 Colors Eatery.
Before COVID-19, we did private events. Went to people's home, went to different venues, and we gave people a traditional South African food experience.
Here they're preparing traditional African meals that will be delivered. Hand gloves are there during the process. Once the food is packaged, the containers are sanitized and then sent to customers.
We market ourselves on different social media platforms, Instagram, Facebook, WhatsApp, and then what happens is the customer will contact us via WhatsApp, place their order.
In Durban, Something Tasty also does traditional African dishes. They use a delivery service for meals one can have at home.
We are available on Mr. D app. That's the other option that we are currently using. People order from home and also online through our website as well. Being on the app, it was mainly to make things easier for customers so that they can order food from home as well as offices.
Food delivery services are big winners here.
If you look at businesses like Eats, for instance, right? Nobody thought we'd be actually in the logistics of moving food around and the restauranting business, right? I think it's just a matter of identifying needs, or even to the point like with Eats, figuring out that people actually want more than just themselves moved around.
So you don't have to worry about not having your favorite restaurant meal, as food outlets are making sure things are coming to you during this lockdown. But you have to make that click on the computer or mobile device for that to happen. When we went to the rural areas recently, we found that a lot of students are mostly relying on TV and radio to do their schoolwork. But when we then went to the city, we found out that students there have many platforms that are being used by their schools and teachers. Some are using WhatsApp, some are using Google services and other platforms as well in order for them to communicate with their teachers. In Namibia, in Mpangeni, local rural schools are closed like all other schools in South Africa. Students here don't have fancy gadgets to do learning in fancy ways. They have no extra data for YouTube. They rely on solutions provided by government through the media.
Ngiyafunda nge-TV, kuyangisiza. Somehow njengokuthi ngithi mengifunda uthola ukuthi uthisha ngangamzwanga. Determine phambi kwami bese ngiyafunda ke yabo understand indlela achaza ngayo.
O-test 2 bami bengakababhali no test 3 bengakababhali. Mase ngiyele esikoleni kube sekulula lapho ukuthi mangibhala izifundo zami iphusheke ngiphase zonke futhi.
Those in matric here feel they've done too much repetition through this method.
Ne disadvantage ukuthi usuke ufundisa umsebenzi vele sengiwazi. Mina ebeng-expectile mhlawumbe njengoba kune-lockdown beng-expect ukuthi mhlawumbe sizofunda term 2.
A 2-hour drive south takes us to Pinetown, where we meet Talente Ebekhulu, another matric pupil. He goes to Pinetown Boys High School.
Matric is very difficult because of this pandemic, and the most difficult part is that we're missing out on a lot of work, staying at home, even though teachers do send us work, but I find it difficult to tutor myself.
This is where inequalities become clear. The expensive government school Talente goes to ensures he and other pupils communicate with their teachers through various technologies.
Normally our teachers reach us by email, Google Classroom and other social media platforms such as WhatsApp, and an app crafted by Google called Google Hangout, where we can have a conference. It's more similar like Skype, but our teachers normally, our English teacher basically normally does poetry on that platform. I normally understand better when a teacher sits down with me and explain the concept that we studying.
Some high school pupils say they need assistance with internet access so they too can access more information.
At time to time we have data problems.
Uma kuyenzeka ukuthi basisiza ngedata, isifiso sami bekuthi besisize ngedata engango 5 gigabytes. Lapho besizokwazi ukuthi singene konke ama section, singene futhi na online ama data engasheshi ukuthi ephele futhi masingena khona.
It's not clear what this year's school education plan is. A promise to start coding classes for some pupils was also made during the State of the Nation address. But that plan can't properly go ahead because of the current COVID-19 challenges. It is SABC Network on Facebook, Twitter and Instagram, News Network at sabc.co.za, on email. After the break, we chat to Dr Admire Mare from the Namibia University of Science and Technology, and we will be discussing issues of how people are consuming content at the moment. It seems like magazines and newspapers are struggling, and some are actually folding all across Africa.
Since the start of the lockdown, schools have been vandalized around the country.
4 schools in Soshanguve and Tshwane have been torched.
Several schools in KwaZulu-Natal have now been vandalized. One in Bergville, a school they called Mbambani School, that was burnt down, torched.
Our schools are under attack. The future of our kids and the nation as a whole is also under attack.
Certainly a worrying issue. We're talking about provinces like Gauteng and Mpumalanga and the Northwest reporting similar instances of that.
Why people would actually go this far to take the education away from the children.
This is a battle against the future of the nation.
Police alone, government alone cannot win this battle. We need the support of our community, the neighbors.
All South Africans will have to stay at home.
As the Nelson Mandela Bay Metro or Municipality, we have about 5 venues to cater for the homeless.
Officials say approximately half of the 4,000 homeless people in the Cape Town CBD are already being accommodated in shelters.
To find about 8 people who are sleeping in there, the chances of them infecting everyone in there, they are very high.
I think we underestimated the numbers. At least now, the situation is firmly under control.
We're trying to keep our hands on the pulse for the homeless in the city as part of our President's call.
It is SABC Network on Facebook, Twitter and Instagram. Welcome back. Some of your content creators are using various digital platforms to get the work to you, and it seems like it's the work you appreciate and are actually consuming. While this is happening, newspapers and magazines are actually struggling. Some are folding.
It was my first TV gig, and I wasn't trying to step on anybody's toes or ruin anything, and I honestly felt like she was like part of like the big dogs, so I was like, I can't be now, trying things with someone that got me the job and stuff like that.
Ordinarily, YouTube would get about 2 billion viewers a month. This is reported to have doubled because of people spending more time at home. South African content creators are seeing a similar increase as well.
I think we wanted to become a vessel for African storytelling, and then at that time YouTube was the affordable platform for us, so we can use. It's an easy access platform. All you need is your phone, a camera or something where you can shoot yourself, film yourself.
Since we have social media, we now have the opportunity to deliver whatever talent that we have through social media. So I am a presenter and there is YouTube, and then I decided, okay, because I love presenting, let me use this opportunity of YouTube and start creating content for people who are hungry for such content.
Defining Love is a popular South African YouTube series produced by a Gauteng-based Defining.
We started to shoot up the rocket with the numbers. The subscribers were going up high. We started off at 1,000. 3 months later, we were on 35,000. And now we're currently on 60. We're going to 100K soon and very soon.
YouTube has also seen an increase in content that's been neglected by traditional media. Dawood Pungula has a Maskandi news show and has started making thousands of rand a month from the platform because of its popularity.
Ingaba abasakazi banesandla yini uma sekufika emculeni odlalwayo kanti umsakazi akadlali yini umculo asiyofica emshinini.
YouTube will go through your content and see if it's good enough to be monetized, and therefore after that, if they feel that it's good enough to be monetized, which means they can actually advertise, they can put ads on your videos, and then they approve you, and then after approving you, you then get paid like that on YouTube.
Despite people consuming more content on spaces like YouTube, traditional print media publications are folding. In South Africa, Destiny magazine folded together with Ndalo Media before the title was bought by another publisher. Associated Media Publishing has said that they are also folding together with publications like Cosmopolitan South Africa. Let's chat to Dr Admire Mare from the Namibia University of Science and Technology about the changing methods which people are using to consume content. Dr Admire Mare, thank you very much for being a part of our network tonight. Maybe if you can start by telling us if you think media organizations around the African continent were ready to deal with the digital disruptions that came as a result of COVID-19.
It's either yes or no question, because some certainly they have enough digital infrastructure to deal with the disruptions that have come with the COVID-19, and also that has come with the technological disruptions, such as, for example, the advent of social media and also the advent of podcasts, and we also have seen the advent of platform companies like Netflix and YouTube coming on board. So some certainly, yes, the digital know-how to do it, but certainly most of the media organizations in Africa don't have that kind of technical capacity to deal with these issues. And therefore, that's why we are seeing more and more newspapers actually folding, because they have not managed to migrate online. If they have done so, they've done it half-heartedly. They've done it without a proper digital media strategy in terms of how they are going to monetize their content, but also how they are going to retain and grow their audiences on these online platforms. But also we have seen that the context in Africa is quite different from the developed North, because in Africa you see that so many people don't really assume that, and also don't understand that you need actually to pay for content online. They think that it's for free, because ever since the internet became the real thing, and even social media, it's always been seen like it's a free. Yes, we know that we pay through the data cost that we incur on a daily basis, but for most people, when they access our online news and access online information, for them more and more they think that it's free lunch or it's free breakfast.
What can be done to mitigate that?
I would say that media organizations in Africa have to think outside the box. They have to think without the box to say, how are they going to make sure that they disrupt the way how audiences have always consumed content online, and how do you make sure that you entice them with the content that allows them to think that, yes, I have to pay the same way they pay for DSTV, the same way they subscribe to Netflix. How do you make the content so rich and so engaging that people have to go online to look for it and pay for it? That is one thing that I think our media organizations in Africa have actually to do.
And why are so many magazines and newspapers folding all across the African continent?
When we look at so many newspapers that are folding, I think it's a symptom of people who have failed to evolve with time. And I think it's always important for change to be embedded in organizations, and change management is an important aspect of even media organizations, because without change management it's very difficult for you to envision a situation where you look at how you can actually make the same content accessible to different audiences that you have in different spaces. So I would say that we need to do more as African organizations in terms of thinking without the box. How do we make sure that we continue to produce content that can actually be attractive to our audiences across the continent?
We sometimes see some of the older publications going online and new publications going digital. Are websites still relevant in the age of social media?
We need to think about what kind of a digital media strategy works for us, because I'm not of the view that we have a one-size-fits-all, a silver bullet kind of an approach to say, if you go to the New York Times or the Washington Times, or you go to the Guardian and see their membership model, and you want to come and transplant it in Africa and expect it to have the same results, it's not going to work like that, because African contexts are different. For example, more and more here, people actually access content through mobile platforms. They actually access even the internet through mobile platforms. So if you look at that, already the mobile platforms becomes a space through which we need to monetize our content, because that's where most of people can actually engage with our content beyond even the website and social media. Because even here, when we talk about internet, we talk about what we call social media internet, because people have access to media, to social media through your social media data bundles that are being packaged by telecommunication companies. So if you look at that, it will tell you a situation where you need actually to say, how do we then make sure that the mobile platform or the mobile phones becomes the space through which we can actually engage with our audiences, but also to monetize our content, so that, and I know there are experiments that have been done, for example, in Zimbabwe, where there is more, there are mobile news apps and also mobile news subscriptions where you can pay for something like $1 and then you get your periodic news are being sent to you. So those are some of the experiments that needs to be done in Africa. But over and above that, I also think that websites in of themselves are not important in many respects, unless if you're talking about clicks and generating a lot of editorial metrics around it and say. But you need to make sure that your content is linked to your social media, and then it also goes back to your website, so that you can generate more and more people that are coming to view your content or even to consume your content.
Can old publications survive this current era?
So in terms of whether old publications are going to survive, I'm not going to be a prophet here, but I'm trying to envision a situation where we are saying, they have to adapt. They have to adapt, because COVID and technological disruptions have demonstrated beyond doubt that we cannot afford to fold our hands anymore and assume that the old way of getting money through adverts, it's going to continue that way. I think that era somehow is beyond us, because we have seen more and more people spending time on screens and on social media platforms, especially during times like now when there are lockdowns, where people can only have access to content through their social media platforms, or they can actually watch TV or listen to radio. So newspapers more and more are being pushed aside, and we are seeing the re-entry of what we call the screen culture, where people actually engage with content through the screen. So I think that's one thing that we also need to look at.
While newspapers and magazines are folding, we are seeing that there is an increase in people that are viewing content online, and it's mostly video content. Do you think that Africa can have its own version of Netflix, for example?
I think the content is there. If you look at what is happening up there in Nigeria, you also look at what happens in South Africa in terms of the productions. I think there's a lot of space for us to actually have a continental-wide kind of a Netflix, but which speaks to our own, peculiar, considerations in terms of our consumption. It also speaks to our own languages, our ethnic groups. So the content must be diverse and must also be able to speak to our everyday lives. So I think there's that space for us to have, our own African Netflix actually coming into existence as a result of the disruptions that we've seen over the last couple of weeks and months, if one is to put it that way.
Dr. Admire Mare, thank you very much for being a part of our network.
Thank you.
Across the country, we had thousands of reclaimers.
The lockdown has lived up to its name, closing all doors on everyone, including recyclers.
It has been a tough period for these men and women.
Let's just see what it is that we can do.
We managed to mobilize all of the food parcels.
It's SABC Network on Facebook, Twitter and Instagram. News Network at sabc.co.za on email. Here's what else took place in the rest of the world in the technology space.
A Chinese developer of artificial intelligence and augmented reality technology for manufacturing and gaming applications has found a new focus in the midst of a global pandemic. In response to the COVID-19 outbreak in late 2019, Hangzhou-based startup Rocket Inc. developed a pair of augmented reality glasses to help screen for symptoms.
我戴上这个测温眼镜有1个星期了，然后我的工作就是在园区内巡逻，测量人员的体温。这副眼镜给我带来的就是便捷，比同比测温枪要便捷，还有更加的安全，保持一定的安全距离。
The company says it is now upgrading the T1 to make multiple temperature readings simultaneously for use in places like malls and airports. And now in Korea. Samsung Group heir J.Y. Lee, embroiled in a bribery scandal, on Wednesday made a rare apology over controversial succession plans and said he is thinking about not handing over management rights to his children at the family-controlled conglomerate.
저는 제 아이들에게 회사 경영권을 물려주지 않을 생각입니다. 오래전부터 마음속에는 두고 있었지만 외부에 밝히는 것은 주저해왔습니다.
J.Y. Lee, vice chairman of Samsung Electronics, the group's crown jewel, was charged with bribing a friend of former President Park Geun-hye to win government favor over a deal widely seen as key to succession planning at the conglomerate. And now in Europe. A coalition is forming around the best approach in using technology to trace infections. Its backers hope it'll help reopen borders without unleashing a second wave of the pandemic. But not all countries agree on how best to handle the personal data that's collected. The UK and France think the people should trust their health authorities to hold such information on a central computer server. A loose coalition of other nations that includes Switzerland, Germany and Italy aren't so sure. They believe data should be kept only on hand so that it's impossible for governments to spy on their citizens.
As Netflix has announced that Jiva will be their second South African original series, our Twitter poll this week is asking you what you think about such platforms getting into the territory of what used to be TV-only territory in the past. That's it. That's all we have for you. Find us on SABC Network on Facebook, Twitter and Instagram. It's News Network at sabc.co.za on email. From me, Spumelele Zondi and the rest of the network team, stay home and stay safe.